Hey there, this is Dr. Brian Fuller from the class of '94, and you are watching PA Live.
What's Bruin is presented by Crown Trophy of Little Rock, nationally known, locally owned.
Hello everyone and welcome to What's Bruin. I'm Joshua Carroll. Coach Kelley, last week we had it was a very good game against Little Rock Christian. I tell you what, it was close. It was tied up at halftime. The Little Rock Christian Warriors ended up taking it by a field goal at the end. What were your thoughts about the game?
I mean, obviously we're disappointed. It meant a lot in the conference race and the playoff home advantage and all that kind of stuff. And it's Little Rock Christian, so I know the kids really wanted to win. I thought we got better as a team in some areas and we made some mistakes we can't make in some areas. And in the end, though, if we can take some good things out of it, it'll be worth the game itself.
So, what were some of those takeaways from this week's game?
A couple things. One, I made some bad decisions on some of the kickoffs and what we were doing there, and obviously a couple of good ones, and our kids did some good jobs executing some of those things. And we've still got some areas we got to work on there. And then offensively, we need to be a little quicker starters. We had a couple times early in the first quarter when, we didn't execute where we needed to. And we had a chance to really draw away in the game. When we go score that first time, and emotionally, that's tough. When you're all geared up to get a stop early and we go and score, and then we're able to stop them, and they scored the first time, and then we scored again, and then we stopped them. We could have gone and scored. Then it might change the game. And so we've got to be able to take advantage of those little things that you never know how they're going to matriculate to later in the game. So we've just got to, when the opportunity is there to close somebody out, we've got to be able to do that. And then obviously later in the game, we had the weird call, and I didn't do a good job of regrouping us right then. I did later on. We got to hit 14 points, and then a couple things here and there went bad. And we've just got to do a better job as a staff of getting our kids at those moments when a ref makes a questionable call or a ball's on the ground, it's a fumble or whatever, regrouping quickly and not letting that snowball on us.
Of course, you bring up that questionable call. I've got to ask you about it. I'm not going to paint you in a corner at all, but tell me a little bit about what is the process, or is there a process of review? Or I know you can't really appeal it because once the game is over, it's over. That's the final score. But is there a process of filing a complaint or anything like that? What does that look like?
That's the bad thing about our state and the official situation. And I honestly believe, I've coached for 28 years, and I've only had a couple times where I thought officials were trying to be bad or malicious. And I think most of the time, and I even officiated for a couple of years, hard. It's very, very difficult to do. And I obviously didn't stay with it. I wasn't great at it. But I gave it a whirl, and I got to see how hard it was. So I understand that part of it too. Other states, and I've been contacted this weekend, a lot of people watch our games around the country. A lot of people have asked me about that. I had somebody tell me yesterday in Tennessee and New Jersey that they all have an evaluating system for their officials that is weekly, and that way those who the good ones are, and they get the higher ranked games, and they get the playoff games, and our state doesn't have that at all. I mean, and that's a little bit of a tragedy, because this game in particular brings up the point where if you're going to have officials that don't make good calls or aren't ranked the highest, then why are they getting the top games? Well, there's no system. I wish there was a system. I'm not saying those guys intentionally messed up things,
sure,
but they made a major blown call, and everybody knows that. And they had a chance to get it right, and they didn't fix that. And I get all that. The ego factors in. It's an emotional thing. But in the end, when it's over with, there needs to be a way. Not saying that one game would take them out of a good rating, but there needs to be a way to evaluate officials, because so many people are putting so much into it, and kids are practicing year-round and going through heat and going through cold. They deserve to win the game or lose the game based off their own merits, not off of a questionable call here or there, especially one that could have been fixed right then and wasn't. So again, not necessarily saying those guys are trying to mess up, but you can clearly see they made a mistake on film. We still could have won the game. I'm not blaming the loss on them. I made a bunch of dumb calls later in the game we could have won the game with. And but in the end, that's a 14-point swing possibly at that moment. We got the ball inside their 20 and does all that. So you never know how it's going to affect the game. I know it didn't help us any. So in that course, though, as a coach, my job is to get back, get the guys together and say, hey, this. I thought I tried to do that and went well for a while, but then in the end, if you've got a way to evaluate people, I think everybody in every job in America is evaluated at some standpoint, and that one should be no different.
Coach, talk a little bit about Jalen Witcher. He had a couple of really great plays this week, and I'm curious if he is playing at or above your expectations, and how crucial has he been in the way that he's kind of stepped up in the offense this year?
It's hard for me to say a kid's playing above my expectations because my expectations are really high. He's a super hard worker. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. His is running routes. He's a good route runner and good at catching the football. Had a drop against Shreveport Evangel, but Friday night had a couple great catches. And if not for, you never know how something can change a game. Braden had to throw one on off his back foot in the fourth quarter. Jalen had to wait on her. It would have been a touchdown. But, he's still going to work on his blocking for us. But as far as catching the ball and running after the catch, he's really good. What I love about the kid is he's an awesome young man. And he shows that same attitude and work ethic in the weight room and on the field at all times. And he's a pleaser. He wants to please. And as we go through the year, I expect him to be even way better than he is now. And he's very good now.
One of the other things that I wanted to mention is, of course, the defense actually played a really good game. They had, 4 different turnovers, wasn't that right? You have to be proud with the way that they came off. I mean, sure that there were probably a couple of ways that they could have caught up with some of the runners. But other than that, they had a really great game. Yeah,
overall, I'm not dissatisfied with them. I think we gave them a couple of things that we need to take away, and our coaches, we have to do a better job of getting in position to make those plays. In the end, though, we pride so much. I say pride. We revolve so much of what we do around a few things in football that win or lose games, which are plays over 20 yards, they're onside kicks, and turnovers. And they got us 4 turnovers there. So if you'd say, well, you take 4 turnovers every game of the rest of your life, I'm in. And we'll win 99% of those games. And,
sure.
And so I was really glad they did that. I would like to done away with some of the – I don't mind big touchdowns, long touchdowns, quick touchdowns. I mind wide open touchdowns. So we've got to cover up some of those things. But in the end, I'd take that defensive performance, and we're going to win most nights with that when we create 4 turnovers.
Before we move on, I want to make sure to thank our sponsor, Crown Trophy of Little Rock. Again, crowntrophy.com is where you can find them. Just make sure to click on the location of Little Rock, Arkansas. They have much more than trophies. They've got drinkware, custom shirts, all kinds of different things that you can offer your employees, your staff members, as maybe an employee of the month, or somebody got a big sale or a good, nice contract. Hook them up with some nice company swag or a nice shirt or drinkware, a mug. They've got everything you need, especially for athletics, that you can use to kind of boost up your program a little bit. One more time, that's crowntrophy.com.
We use them for all of our sports, the end-of-year banquets, and then I also use them for some off-school related stuff that I do myself, and Jenny always does a great job. So I appreciate her response to the program, but more just appreciate all the things she has to offer that we can use to help motivate people.
No kidding. Well, Coach, looking forward to this week. We're finally back home after a 4-week stretch of being on the road. The last 2 weeks we've been at least back in Little Rock. But we're back here at Joe B. Hatcher Stadium. I should mention, kind of tell everybody where we are at the moment. Didn't get a chance to start off that way, but we're actually in the Judy Buck Center in the locker room. A lot of folks don't get to come in here.
Yeah.
So it's a neat opportunity to kind of see what it looks like. Every one of the seniors have their moms come in and decorate the lockers, and you kind of see a few of those behind us here. But this week we'll be hosting Maumelle. It was a great game last year. Looks to be a good game this year. What do you think?
Well, they're 5-0 coming in, and Maumelle's a team that always has a lot of talent, a lot of athletes, and when they're playing well and start the year off well, they're tough, and at 5-0, they're going to travel well. It's across the river. I think, have identified themselves as a little bit of a rivalry for us in many ways, and so and they're ranked right now, and we're coming off a loss, and I think they see that we're vulnerable.
Sure.
And that gives them more confidence. So if you've got talent and athleticism, and then all of a sudden you bring in a little bit of confidence, and they've never beaten us, so they want to. This could be their first time. There's a lot of motivation for those guys, and they also know that with a loss now, that first and second place in the conference are still up for grabs. They gave Little Rock Christian a run for their money last year, gave us one as well. So they're a team that thinks that they may be the team to take the 5A Central this year, and after us losing last week, all we did was open up that door. So we're definitely got our work cut out for us, but like you mentioned, we're so glad to be back at home. I mean, we went August, we played at home against Harbor, and then not again until October. That's a long stretch. Blame that on the athletic director for not being able to find home games. But in the end, it is going to be nice to have 3 games left at home out of our next 5, and maybe we can build some momentum for the playoffs.
How does that play into week to week as you have to play on the road so many times versus finally coming back home? Is it harder, or does it get easier when you have so many away games in a row? Does it make a considerable difference to come back home and play?
Yeah, I'm big on the psychology of people and players, and our kids love playing at home. Our crowd's different at home. The atmosphere is different. With everything, it's like a party atmosphere, and it's a lot of fun. Our kids tend to believe we play better at home. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's good when we're at home.
Sure.
But when that's the case, confidence, there's no substitute. I think when you're doing any job for confidence. I mean, I think in a game of football, I think you don't think too much. You do what you're trained to do. You react, and you trust your training, and so you don't hesitate. Hesitation in the game of football kills you. And when you're playing with confidence, that's what you do. And so it does help us. I'm excited about it. And for the coaches, it's a little bit easier, than packing everything up, putting it on a bus, getting in, and 2 of the past 4 games we stayed in hotels. And that makes it even more tough. So I'm excited about coming back home, especially when we're kind of licking our wounds, so to speak, and getting to play in front of the home fans. And hopefully we can come out and play well early, and then, like I say, establish a little bit of our old dominance back, get some of our confidence back, and being at home certainly helps that.
Of course, we're recording this on Monday, but right now the weather forecast shows that could be thunderstorms, could be raining on Friday night. Do you do anything different in practice to prepare for that type of weather? Does that factor in at all?
Yeah, not really. I used to do that in the old days, and I think it stuck more, and go back to the psychology of the kids, I think it made them think about it more, made them worry about it more, made them more hesitant. So now it's just like, hey, football's an outdoor game. Whatever, comes with it, that's what we're going to do. So we've been a really good rain team in the past. And I think some of that is all week I'm just going to pound in their head, hey, it might rain, it might storm, I don't know, it may sleet, snow, who cares? It's football, and that's the best thing about football is we still play it outdoors, and everybody else is going to be worried about it except us. We do what we do, and I think that's a big part of it. So, we'll worry about that when it gets here and won't really worry about it beforehand.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining me once again for What's Bruin. And folks, come out and support the Bruins this Friday night. Of course, we'll be hosting Maumelle, like I said, and it's sure to be a great game. So come out and support the Bruins. And if you can't join us here on campus, be sure to watch online at pabruins.tv. In the meantime, for Coach Kelley, I'm Joshua Carroll. We'll see you next time.